Hi there, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Gary Axelbank, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we speak with an award-winning Afro-Latina children's author to learn more about her upcoming book, Sounds of Joy. Then a horticultural therapist for Project Renewal and a tenant for Bedford greenhouse talks about the therapeutic benefits of gardening. After that, we look back at an interview with the co-founder of Speak Life End Bullying to learn more about their mission. And finally, the Senior Division's Director of Residential Services at the Inwood House at the Children's Village discusses the critical services provided at Maya's Place and Victory House. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Axelbank. Today is Tuesday, March 25th, and you're now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Well, award-winning Afro-Latina children's author, illustrator, and Bronx native Yesenia Moises is leading the charge in reshaping children's literature with her empowering stories. With a deep commitment to representation and inclusion, Yesenia's work is not just creating books, it's inspiring the next generation of young readers to embrace their identities, their creativity, and their limitless potential. Yesenia joins us now. Thank you for being with us, Yesenia. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. And let's just talk about you as an author. What made you say, hey, I think I want to do this and write children's books?
Well, a big part of it was having grown up as a sheltered kid, honestly. Um, I had spent a lot of time creating stories of my own after being a really big nerd. I loved watching cartoons and anime, and I wanted to make things that I wasn't really seeing on TV or I wasn't really seeing in the books that I was reading. And so I realized that, maybe this writing thing, there's a little more to it. It was really fun to create worlds of my own, characters going on their own adventures, and people that honestly looked like me.
You know, the whole idea, I mean, you passed over it very quickly, and that's the idea of you being a sheltered child. But I'm guessing, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that that whole concept made you even want to be more aggressive about telling the stories and telling positive things, that it turned your mind into doing positive work like that and helping other children understand how the world really is and how they can do better.
Yeah, yeah, honestly. I spent a lot of time in my room, kind of seeing the world around me. My parents, they were immigrants who really wanted the best for me, but also realized that living in the Bronx, other people might not. Um, so I spent a lot of time um, exploring like different worlds through my art, through my words written on a page. And I think that having been that sheltered kid um, really helped me think a little more outside of the box in ways that I think a lot of the children now may not, because so much is being seen on social media where they're very concerned about how they appear, even like at young ages.
Sure.
And
You,
so,
you know, they sat in front of computers for 2 years, and
yes.
that doesn't help children see what the world is. Now, listen, you're being very modest. Your work has been featured on BuzzFeed, Sci-Fi, NBC News, the pages of publishers like DC and Image. So let's be thrilled and celebrate how far you have traveled. Let's talk about Sound of Joy in that context of all that other stuff. You were the illustrator for the Adventures of the Kwai Kwai series was the famous Serena Williams. You've done all that stuff. Where does Sound of Joy fit into this spectrum?
Okay, so my book is called Sounds Like Joy.
There it is.
Yes.
Sounds like joy. Okay.
So it is a underwater musical that celebrates the magic of music and the power that it has to bring us together. Um, it is a fun read aloud experience, I would say, meant to really showcase how fun sounds and music can be and how they make us feel. Because right now, um, I worry that a lot of the children that are coming up are being taught that joy is something that might not be for them, especially in the current climate that we have, with so many of the DEI rollbacks.
Well, I really am sensitive to it in a positive way about the notion of music and the borough of the Bronx in particular, because music is, in my mind, has been the underpinnings of just about all of the cultures in the Bronx and all of, we of course invented half of the music that the world is enjoying right now. Let's be honest about that. So I really appreciate the idea that you want to use that as a way to help kids learn their identity, learn to grow, et cetera, et cetera. Just out of curiosity, did you have a musical background of any sort, or you've just perceived that this is the way to do it?
Um, well, I don't have a musical background. I've always loved music. I've been an audiophile for most of my life. I enjoy creating playlists and things for friends that are very themed around where they are in life. So it's just something that I've had a deep admiration for and wanted to find a way to put on a page, both in words and visually.
Um, the whole notion of sharing and of helping children develop, you deserve a lot of credit for that, especially given your own background. I understand, a little Burd told me that you're also a toy designer. Um,
Yes.
and let's see, they inspire uh, and reflect diversity and inclusivity, words that some people are not real thrilled about in this day and age. Talk a little bit about the whole idea of designing toys and what you design and what you think is useful for children that helps them grow and understand the world.
Well, when it comes to designing toys, I think toys are honestly one of the very first things that a child sees as their introduction to like storytelling or imagination or creativity, diversity. Um, it is, oh, sorry, I would like to rephrase
Go
that.
ahead.
Yes. So toys are usually the very first introduction that a child has to the world around them in regards to storytelling or creativity. It is the very first thing that they see, that they can interact with, that really takes their mind somewhere. And so, with a lot of my work, I try to make sure that I am creating worlds and places for them to go where they can really see themselves. Because a lot of times it's hard for people who look much like myself, who or people who were raised in the Bronx or even other communities that are similar. They have a difficult time seeing themselves in media portrayals and even in books. And so, with the work that I'm doing, I try to make sure that even at the very start of their journey into this world, they can see them.
They can see themselves. I think it's just wonderful. And as a grandfather, I know with my granddaughter, you know, I could show her all the movies and things that I'm interested in, all the things that I want to teach her. But if I give her something that she can use, that she can touch, that she can enjoy, all of a sudden it opens up that world and it opens up the lines of communication. So I totally appreciate what you said. Talk to me about the Adventures of Quai Quai by Serena Williams and what your role was in that project.
So The Adventures of Quay Quay, it's a story that is based around Quay Quay, a social media superstar, I'd call her, who's this baby doll that comes to life. And so the story there has her coming to life to help our protagonist called Baby Girl, who's having a bit of trouble with her confidence as she prepares for a big recital. And so it's a story that was written by Serena Williams to really help kids find themselves.
And so it's clear that you found a symbiotic relationship with what her agenda is as well. She, of course, is internationally well known, but there's something very comforting about somebody that famous and that well known, kind of involved in the same agenda that you are, right? I mean, there's something really cool about that. That what you're thinking about is a lot larger than just you and me here on Open.
Yeah. I would say so. I would say so. And something that really drives my work is just knowing that the books that I write, the art that I create, it's inspiring someone out there, someone who might be seeing themselves in circumstances where they may be encouraged to think a little more realistically about life. And while that is important, I think it's also important for young people, children especially, to see themselves doing all sorts of amazing things, going on all sorts of amazing, fun adventures. Because when they don't, their worldview is really limited.
Yes.
It's
I just don't want to run out of time, and their opportunities are limited. Could you hold up the book again,
sure,
right?
sure thing.
And maybe even flip a page so people could see. Sounds like
It sounds
joy.
like
There you go. Now you can see what it looks like. And how can people? There you go. And how can people get a copy of it? And where can they find it? And we certainly want everybody to ingest it as best as possible.
So Sounds Like Joy is not quite out yet. It'll be
Aha.
available on May 6th at all major retailers as well as everywhere that books are sold. If you can, consider supporting your local bookstore. Right now, especially, it's been challenging for a lot of them given the prevalence of um, online options that are a bit speedy in their shipping, but I think that bookstores are truly a pillar of the community and we need to support them.
Well, you've got a fan here, and not only in your work, but at the Lit Bar. Let's get down to the South Bronx and see the Lit Bar, which is really one of the most wonderful places in the Bronx, but really at the moment our only bookstore. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you, Yesenia, and we'll look for Sounds of Joy, and that's how we'll live our lives, with Sounds of Joy. We appreciate your time this morning.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. To learn more about Yesenia's work, please visit her website. That's on the screen below. So don't go away. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
going to start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit bronxnet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
Welcome back to Open. Amid the stresses of daily life and the uncertainty of the world around us at this particular moment, having a peaceful place to reflect and unwind can make all the difference. People of the Bronx know about that. Joining us now to speak about their horticultural therapy program is a therapist for Project Renewal. It is Jonelle Greene. Nice to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Along with a tenant of the Bedford greenhouse, it is Desmond Low-Ortega. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Jonelle, let's just talk about what a special project the Bedford greenhouse is. You know that I saw it from the very beginning over there on Creston Avenue, but just give us a little background about the building itself and what it attempted to do and what it really has done.
Project Renewal has affordable housing all over New York, and this particular project, Bedford Greenhouse, there's a 1 and 2. The building that I work at is Bedford 1, which houses a greenhouse on top of the roof.
I'm sorry, I'm smiling because when you say that, I think that's the cat's meow. I think that is just the best thing, and we should have it on every building. I'm sorry, I couldn't
No,
help.
especially in the Bronx.
Yeah. Of course,
providing a green space in the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx, and it is incredible that that is what we get to share on a daily basis.
And this was the vision of the people who put the building together from the beginning.
From the beginning,
They
yes.
called it the greenhouse. Let's face it. But you also serve people who need housing, right?
Yes, this particular building provides housing for people who were formerly unhoused. We have families. It's a mixed community. And our next building over will be an older group.
And that is still in construction.
Yes, that
Okay.
should be done 2025.
And so you say older, so senior housing
Yes,
and those kinds
yes.
of things.
But also a mixed community as well.
Now listen, a horticultural program on the roof is worthwhile for everybody in the Bronx, as I indicated just a couple of seconds ago. Why, for this particular population, does this work particularly well?
A lot of our population suffer from anxiety, PTSD, stress, substance abuse, and being submerged around nature has been proven to release stress and anxiety.
So it leads perfectly into our resident. Talk about why you moved into the Bedford greenhouse.
Well, when I was shown the unit, like the building, it was actually not open yet. There was just a taking application. That was in late 2021. So when I was shown the building and I saw the unfinished greenhouse, I fell in love already. I wanted, I saw a few other
They
buildings.
made the sale. Yeah.
I saw other buildings, in Manhattan, in Queens, and all that. But I was like, I want this one. I hope I get this one. So I applied for it through I was in SRO back then. Apply for it through my social worker, and in 2022, in May, I got the answer that I got it.
You're in.
I was so happy.
And we could talk about the apartments and all that. That's a whole other thing. But where in the peaceful living part Does this greenhouse and the horticultural program stand? Like, this is really important to you.
Yeah, it is.
Why?
Because it helped me through my like my recovery
Difficulties?
journey, basically. You know, my
Okay.
dark path. You know, it's such a. Before I found permanent housing, which is Project Renewal, before I moved in July 2022. I was in a really, unstable period. It was a really unstable period of my time. So when I moved in and I went up to the greenhouse right away, since day one. Jonelle was not the horticulture therapist yet. There was another person, Eva, and she showed me, in the beginning about working in the greenhouse and working with mud and dirt and all that. It's
I love
just
that, working with mud. Yeah.
yeah, therapeutic.
But had you ever done gardening before?
No.
Didn't know anything about it. So
No.
it wasn't like you said, "Oh, good, now I can continue my gardening."
Yeah, no.
Wow.
I was taught that, and I fell in love with it. It's so therapeutic. So
Jonelle, could you just, if you would, describe what's there so that people could know what it's about, and maybe some other developers could get a good idea out of this. That would be great.
Our particular greenhouse is a aquaponic greenhouse, which means that we have fish tanks, and the fish waste is what fertilizes the plants, so that we don't use any kind of synthetic fertilizers.
Wow.
It's amazing because it's a closed loop system. You put the water in and it just circulates, and it takes years to develop that waste and that biodiversity to really feed the plants.
What an incredible concept.
Yes.
Is this used in other places? I had not really heard about that as a common thing. Boy, it sounds like it makes a ton of sense.
It does. It's actually an ancient practice.
Of course.
And right now it's becoming more popular because we have a concern about water. There are programs in New York that actually set up little aquaponic systems in schools. And I think that's a wonderful place to start to really get children to learn.
Is this different from what is traditionally known as hydroponics? Or-
Yes.
It is different.
It's different, whereas the fish provide the nutrients, where hydroponic, you have to have a fertilizer.
How many fish are in?
Oh,
Sorry.
wow. We have about 30 goldfish.
30 goldfish.
Yes, but we have 200-gallon tanks. We have 4 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just extraordinary. And how many people participate in the program? And is there a program, or is it more like you just come up and kind of learn to do it?
It's a little bit of everything. We have designated programs where we sow seeds, we make collages out of the flowers, we make tinctures, pulpery. But then it's also a space to just decompress. So we have an inside garden where we grow the vegetables, flowers, the fish live, and then there's an outside space. So for people who really just want to be around and smell the roses, that is for them. And then I also provide plant care for the people in the building. So people who don't really want to engage in the activities, they can still come up and talk about their
Well,
plants.
this is what I was going to ask Desmond about, the notion of, now you had briefly talked about things that you had been through, and let's face it, Jonelle Greene is a horticultural therapist.
Yeah.
Is there a therapeutic aspect of this for you? I mean, aside from just, well, it's kind of a great activity, but talk to me about how it changes you as a person.
Totally, it totally helped.
Totally.
Tremendously, yeah, through my recovery journey. Jonelle is amazing,
She's your best friend now.
Actually, yeah, we are, there's a boundary. Like, she's not my friend, but she is my friend. She's my therapist. There is that line right there. But while I was working with her, she taught me more than just gardening.
In what way? This is so fascinating, and frankly, folks, it's so important. In what way did the gardening go further and reach other parts of you as a person?
It's a connection. Because like for the longest time, I didn't want to like after like have a history of like substance use, cancer, being through cancer, like
So
the depression.
sorry.
It's
Yes.
okay. You know, I'm in remission
Now
right
it's
now.
okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm in remission right now. But when I was in that, mindset that I just did not want to deal with anything, I didn't want to go outside. So I went up to the garden all the time. Like whenever she was working, I was there. So she helped me in terms of like, not just gardening, but like a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. She was there for me.
And so the use of your hands, the idea that you're doing something creative and of something natural, that certainly helps.
Yeah.
A place to go where you didn't have a place to go, a physical place to go,
Yep.
and a mental place to go.
Totally. A safe place, basically.
A safe place.
Yeah.
And one other aspect of this I just wanted to ask about, because Jonelle talked about other people. I
Yep.
guess it also helps you build community.
Yep.
So you work with other people.
Yes, definitely. Like
Go ahead, keep going.
growing things together and getting to enjoy the end product and eat, the food that we grow, the herbs and all that.
You eat the foods that we
Yeah.
grow.
Yes, we have a
Totally,
cooking
we
group
have-
as well.
Yeah, I love to cook. It saves money, it's more nutritious. So I get like herbs and everything. Like we have tomatoes, we have watermelon, ginger, turmeric, and we just
I'm coming for lunch. No. I'm actually going to do that. All right, Jonelle, how's it funded? Is it expensive, or it propagates? To use the right word, it propagates itself.
Yes, we have funders to.
Wow.
help.
Boy, people are going to want to know, especially for the new building. Are there apartments available? I mean, is it? Do we?
Honestly, I think
You-
I'm like I think they're booked. I think
I was going to say,
people.
who wouldn't want to be there?
Yeah.
It would be the thing. And in terms of now this building, folks, I'm going back in history. It was built around a big rock because they didn't want to destroy. It would have taken forever and also be expensive. So it's really a very unusual project. Aside from the aquaponic farm, I'm used to saying hydroponic.
Right.
It's an aquaponic farm.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are involved? How many residents are involved in it?
In the daily.
Yeah, 5, 10, 20,
I'd say
100?
a handful, about 10
Wow.
of the regulars. But like I said, people come and ask me questions throughout the building. When I first arrived there, I did a plant swap to really get to know the plant residents of the building. So it really is just a lot of different people coming in and out. It's pretty great.
It's more than pretty great. It's very great. Jonelle Greene, horticultural therapist with Project Renewal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Des, keep growing, right? Is that how we're going to do it? You're going to
Yep.
keep growing. What's the tastiest thing you made?
say it one more time. Sorry.
What's the tastiest thing you made? What's the...
I would say a salad because we have discussion.
All right. Gary's invited for lunch. That's perfect. Jonelle, thank you. And Desmond, thank you.
Thank you.
And to learn more about this program and any other programs that they offer, please visit the website projectrenewal.org. And we'll have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. We'd like to take this time to look back at an interview with Dan Burd, a co-founder of Speak Life End Bullying, to discuss their unique approach to supporting school-age children who are facing bullying through a musical. Take a look.
Let's take a look at this trailer to learn a little bit more about the musical.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the show.
One by one, tear down these walls. No way that they can stop us. No, they won't stop us.
Welcome to the chaos.
This is our story. Come here as you are. It's okay to be human. This is our story. Come here as you are. It's okay to be human. You don't have to look too far. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. Are you listening to me right now? A brighter day.
Dan Burd, the co-founder of Speak Life and Bullying, joins me now. Dan, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, I'm curious to know a little bit more just about the background of, just the beginnings of Speak Life and Bullying. I understand this is something that you and your wife, Rebecca, created. Can you tell me a little bit more?
Yeah, this musical started about 20 years ago, back in 2001, just following Columbine. We were working with youth, and we actually went to a youth networker meeting, and we heard this guy play an audio clip about his story of being bullied. And there's about 50 people in this room, and they're all different ages. And once that audio clip was done, I was moved, and as I looked around the room, you could see everyone in the room was moved, hearing about this guy's story of bullying as a kid. And so both my wife and I kind of looked at each other and we're like, we need to do something, So we went up to the guy that was running the meeting and we're like, we feel like we can't leave. I feel like something needs to happen, we need to do something. And he looked at us and he said, well, you guys are the artists, go do something about it. And so we did. We went back, we met with our staff, and we said, look, we're going to put together this show based around this stuff that we just heard. And the story follows the life of 4 ordinary students at school. One of those students is Daniel. His name is Daniel. Follows my kind of experience. It was based after me and the things that I had gone through as a kid. And, jump forward 15 years later, we've seen over 500,000 students in 350 schools across the United States. And then COVID hit. We couldn't tour anymore because schools were all closed. So we actually partnered with Justin Simmons, who's a safety for the Atlanta Falcons, and he helped us to put it on film the same way that Hamilton was put on film. It's a Broadway-style show that was filmed as a Broadway-style show, and now we're able to distribute that nationally to schools and to parents across the country. So it's been a very exciting journey, and we love doing it.
And I want to say congratulations, because I just know, just in general, that it's not easy.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it, and so I can see just by the trailer how much was put into it, and it looks amazing.
Yes.
I'm curious to know, I love musicals. What inspired you to kind of take the musical route with this?
I grew up in musical world. In high school, I played sports and I did musicals. So I loved musicals. My wife is a dancer and a director. I'm an actor and a singer. So when we got married, it was kind of like, this is what we do. We love watching musicals. We love being a part of them. And so it was just the most natural expression for us when we felt like we really wanted to zero in on something and begin helping people. We felt like, what tool do you have in your hand that you're able to use? And for us, that was musicals. We were running a performing arts company at the time for teenage kids, and this just seemed like the most natural extension of ourselves to help in a situation that was both something that had impacted me as a kid and then something that I wanted to help change for my kids.
Now, when we talk about bullying, we usually think it's maybe a one-sided thing.
Right.
But I understand that there may be multiple layers. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've learned about that?
Yeah, we talk about it in percentages. We say that, statistically speaking, 10% of students in a school would consider themselves to be the bully. 30% of the kids in those schools, 20 to 30% would consider themselves to be the victim. And then 60% of kids in schools really just kind of bystanders. Nobody messes with them. They don't mess with anybody else. They just don't really get involved. And so we actually target that 60% because we know that if we can mobilize, that's the largest army in a school to help really create an impact in what's going on. So that's kind of how things get broken up, and we do different things for the 10%, different things for the 30%, those kids that are feeling that they're being victimized. And then we target specifically as a nonprofit that 60% of kids that would say they just don't get involved. And we're like, no, it's time to get involved.
Now, we know just because of life, bullying can start as early as kindergarten, first
Yes.
grade. But I understand that the musical may focus on a little bit on older children.
Yes.
Can you explain, why you wanted to focus on that age group?
It just started very organically. Both my wife and I worked, again, with youth, and we were working with teenage kids at the time. So when we wrote the musical, we're like, this is going to be for teenage kids. And then as we began touring in schools and kind of covering the United States, we began to realize 99% of what is out there when it comes to anti-bullying stuff is all for elementary school and younger, preschool. So, I mean, if you just Google anti-bullying, everything that's going to come up is going to have young kid GIFs, like little images and pictures that are all for elementary school. And it's very difficult to find something that is quality and usable in a middle school and a high school. So when we actually began really honing in, I mean, we did this over 20 years live. So every year we would hone in and rewrite, throw in new songs, change out songs, change jokes, whatever didn't land, we would switch it on the fly. And so we had a really good time being able to do that. And so after 20 years, you begin to figure out what really works and what's there. And so for us, we began to realize there wasn't anything that was worthwhile. I can't say not anything because there's some really great companies out there, but there was no one doing what we were doing that was for middle school and high school. And so most of the time, high schools, if you're an educator out there in middle school or high school, you know that you have to use something from an elementary level and tool it up to work in a middle school or a high school level. So we specifically target secondary schools.
Now, what I think is so interesting is a lot changes over 20 years,
Yes.
Especially the youth and what is cool and what is not cool. How have you, been able to kind of evolve
Yes.
and make it relate to the children of today or over time?
Well, if you ask my kids, they would say we're not cool, but they actually come back and they're like, all my friends think you guys are really cool. So we recognized as we got to a certain age, we were like, look, we need to start asking our kids what they think. So our kids, as they've grown up, have really gotten involved and help us to stay fresh on what's happening in schools. But I mean, we would go to malls and we would look around and see what kids are wearing, listen to how they were talking and interview people and talk and visit schools, and when you're on tour in the United States, you can go from California to Indiana to New York. Very, very different. I mean, we did inner city schools in Chicago. We did rural schools in Indiana. And we would have principals come up to us all the time. I'd be standing in the back of the auditorium and they would say, how did you know? And I'd be like, how did I know what? And they'd be like, how did you know what my kids were like? And I'm like, I think the thing that when you get stuck in genres, you don't realize kids are kids. Doesn't matter where they grew up, kids are kids. They all deal with the same struggles. They have specific, things that are specific to them based on where they grow up or the economic level that they grow up in. But kids deal with kid things, and bullying is a human experience. It's not any one group. It's a human experience.
Now, with that being said, we kind of focus on schools a lot, but
Yes.
what role do parents play and how could they be more involved?
Parents play a huge role. The name of our company is called Speak Life End Bullying because we start with the solution. If we can teach our kids the culture of speaking life to other people, we know bullying ends. Bullying thrives in an environment where the bully is allowed to thrive. So if we can, like the targeting of those 60%, if we can create a culture inside that 60%, then we can create a culture of speaking life. The bully isn't getting what they're wanting any longer. They're not getting that satisfaction, and so they actually start to shift towards what gives them that satisfaction, which is what those other kids are doing. So you'll see bullies, they become our biggest advocate, and that really starts at home, because their parents are going to be the ones that need to create a culture of speaking life in their home. It's not okay for us to leave it to the schools to be responsible to raise our children. It's the school's responsibility to educate our children, and we are giving our children to them to educate with us, but it needs to be in partnership. But parents really need to be the ones that are responsible for creating a culture of speaking life in their home, so that when that student leaves and goes into a world and a culture that's always going to be against them, they know that they have something that can build them up and lift them up, that they have a solid rock to go back to.
Now, how can schools connect with you to have their students see your musical, and where can people go in general just to learn more?
Absolutely. Just in general, if you're a school or if you're a parent, if you want to know more, we have a parent product for you that will help you to create that culture in your school. You can, or in your home, you can go to speaklifethemusical.org, speaklifethemusical.org. And if you're a family, you can click on Speak Life at Home. And if you're a school, you can click on Speak Life and Bullying for Schools.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, what do you hope to see for the future of this? It's been 20 years so far. What do you hope to see for the next 20 years?
Oh my gosh. You asked that question when we are just gearing up towards our new school year. We actually have a tour that's happening. We used to tour live, and then when we put it on film, we couldn't tour anymore. We just distribute it. And so now we have a hybrid model where we actually take the film into schools and do it for them. And so that's exciting. And then we're getting ready to launch our home product. So you can sign up for the launch of our home product as well. That's coming very, very soon. So for the future, we would love to see more musicals. We would love to see more topics that we can hit. But right now, bullying is very close to my heart, because it's what I went through as a kid, and it's what I just want to see no other student have to go through.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story and just this beautiful world that you created. So thank you so much.
No, thank you.
To learn more about Dan and his wife Rebecca's mission to end bullying permanently, please go to their website, speaklifethemusical.org.
Hey, thanks to Dan for joining us on Open to share more about their mission to help end bullying in schools. Stay tuned. We have more Open for you right after this.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet Community Media Classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome back to Open, the Maya's Place and Victory House, of Bronx-based shelters that is operated by the Children's Village. Some of their services include counseling, community connection, plans to obtain long-term housing, support for residents continuing school and work, all the stuff that we really need. Joining us now, the Senior Divisions Director of Residential Services at the Inwood House at the Children's Village. It is Claudette Horry. Nice to have you with us.
Nice, thank you for having me.
Claudette, just talk about we'll get into the specifics. What about this work is important to you? What is it that really drives you and makes you want to do this every day?
I think I'm a people's person, and I like helping people. I like seeing youth succeed and getting to the next level, being successful members of society. And I want everyone to thrive.
So what are the elements that you put into both Maya's Place and the Victory House that help you achieve those goals and those ends?
For me personally, I'm hands-on. So I go and I speak to the youth every day. Not every day, but maybe like once a week.
As often as you can.
As often as I can. I'll stop in just, to see how they're doing, if they're having any challenges, anything that any of the support staff can help you with. So I try to be hands-on at Maya's and Victory.
What are the situations that they're in? Like in terms of, we don't have to make a formal assessment, but what do you see in the kids that you think really needs that kind of energy to develop?
Nurturing.
Nurturing. What a beautiful way to put it.
Nurturing, yes.
They crave it.
They crave it. A lot of them come from, traumatic backgrounds, where they didn't get that support at home, or maybe even in their communities that they came from. So we try to provide that on site for them.
And give me one example of what you do to provide exactly what you just described.
So if a youth comes in and she's experienced maybe substance abuse.
You say she, mostly girls?
Yes, we're female. Yeah, we're female.
Okay,
anyone identified as female.
Okay.
Okay. So if a youth comes in and she's experienced substance abuse issues, so we connect them. The first stop is with the case planner. Then from the case planner, they'll go to the mental health counselor. The mental health counselor would, actually speak with them about what substance that they're addicted to, what is bringing you to that addiction, and just trying to help them, support them, and navigate through that addiction.
And we should really talk about the ages of another. So are these?
Yes.
Well, you tell me. I was going to start guessing ages. But you may as well
Female
just
identify anyone between the ages of 16 and 20.
This is a very vulnerable population
Yes,
because they have the ability to do all kinds of things,
right.
and we want to make sure that they get
right.
on the right path. So talk about Maya's Place. What is
So
Maya's
Place is a 90 to 120 day shelter. Like I said, as youth that identify as females, you have to be 20, anywhere from 16 to 20 years old.
And they don't have other family?
Well, they may have family, but they may not have the support of that family. So they maybe just want to, not want to abide by the rules that's in the home or anything. So they might be experienced homeless. Maybe their family is in a shelter, and they're not allowed to stay in that shelter with their family. So if a youth comes to us and she can call, she can be referred through the school, she can be referred from another crisis shelter program, or she can just ring the bell, knock on the door, say, I don't have any place to stay tonight, or I'm hungry. And if we have a bed, we will provide that for them.
Do more of them ring the bell, or more of them have to be kind of remanded to it? And then I'm curious if it's a struggle to bring them in because they're like, there's another place, I don't want to deal with it.
Well, a lot of youth ring the bell. And then we have
really do.
Yes, they ring the bell.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, yeah, and word of mouth.
Tears at my heartstrings.
I know, mine too.
I'm sure it does, but you get to do anything about it. I just get to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you must love to welcome them in. What do you do? Now you said 90 to 120?
90 to 120 days.
And then what happens to them after that?
After the 120 days.
I'm assuming you do a lot of work to get them where they got to be.
Within that 90 and 120 days. If a young person comes in, they don't have their vital documents, the case planners will help them get their vital documents. They'll help them enroll in school.
I'm guessing that's a very common thing.
That's a common thing.
I'm sorry,
that's a common
go
thing.
ahead.
Enroll in school or vocational training. They will also help them, to apply for housing, which is big because you want stable housing. You don't want them, because you could stay in the shelter in Maya's Place from 90 to 120 days. But when you're 120 days up, you can either repeat the cycle or either you can go to a more stable housing option. We have TIL programs, which is Victory House. Victory House is a TIL program.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Yes, and Victory House, when the young ladies go there, that's more stable, long-term housing. You can stay there up until 2 years or up until you turn 21 years old.
I'm just curious about their educational level. So if they're 16 years old, many of them not in high school at the time?
Yes, you'd be
or
surprised.
they are in high
You'd be
school.
surprised. A lot of them in high school, but we also have a lot of young ladies who are in college.
That was the next thing. And then if not, you can help them,
We
I
can help
assume.
them, yes.
About how many youngsters are involved?
Well, last year we serviced 167 youth came
Wow.
through Myers Place, and for Victory House it was I think about 47 because that's more long term.
So it's almost like you graduate from Myers House to Victory House, possibly?
You can graduate from Myers Place to Victory House, but then we're under DYCD, which is a continuing. So there's other TIL programs throughout the city.
You know, I'm just always interested, especially in this day and age, and concerned about funding for these kinds of programs.
Yeah.
Is there concern now that
Very much
there's federal
concerned.
funding
Federal
out there?
funding. We get funding from city and local city and state as well. But you know, in this climate right now, a lot of the funding is depleting.
Goodness, I can't even think. I wish we could address it, but that's a much larger
Yes, it
question. Can you think of an example or two of a young woman who came into one of these facilities and they were really kind of in a bad way, and then you, through the programs and the things that you do, you got them to move to the next level?
We have had a lot of success stories, not
A lot
just
of-
one. A lot of success
Come on,
stories.
name one.
Well,
Treat us, tell us.
Well, we had a young lady who came in. She was going from shelter to shelter, and she just could not
Without
find
family.
Without family, and she did not find one that she was comfortable with. So she came to Myers.
Excuse me, I have to ask. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, well, that's a really hard situation. Being
Yes, I know.
homeless
Of
in New
course.
York City and at 16 years old, 16, anywhere from 16 to 20, that's a hard thing to do. So we have a young lady, this particular young lady, she came into Myers Place, and when her 120 days was up, she still didn't have her all her vital documents, because when she first came in, she was not serious about the program. So we got permission from our governing agency to repeat her cycle. By the time she left, she had her own apartment. She had all her
Wait,
vital
I want to go back to the
documents.
vital documents. So that means even very fundamental things,
yes, like
birth certificate?
Birth certificate, social security card.
And you helped her do
yes,
all that stuff
yes, the
so that
case
she could be a
planners.
regular person?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Yeah, because you know in New York City you have to have these vital documents just to move around.
Everywhere you need that
and for
now,
the services,
especially.
and just to attain, like to get in different programs and services. And
Okay,
stuff.
so you did that, and then she did what after that with her?
After that, working with her case planner, she was able to apply for NYCHA and supportive housing. So by the time her time came to an end, she had an apartment in supportive housing.
Wow, isn't that wonderful?
Wonderful.
And what about employment? She had some training or
She
something?
was enrolled in college.
Enrolled in college?
Enrolled in college.
Wow. This is a story that you see all the time.
All the time. We try to make it possible as much as possible.
What are the challenges to doing this? I mean, the way you make it sound, it's wonderful, and it's exactly what we need for all of our youth,
Yeah.
boys and girls, of course. But it can't be as easy as that.
No, well, you have to have staff that are committed. You have to have staff that are committed, you know. You know, you have staff that's committed and want to help the youth get to another level.
And you say committed, but also trained. I mean,
Trained,
they're
yes.
social workers and
We have
all
social
those
workers.
kinds
We
of
have
things.
mental health counselors. We have child practitioners. We have several.
Is it a situation where you're basically filled up? I mean, when I think of our population in the Bronx, I think, goodness, you must be filled up, and you must.
Well, we do get filled up, but the girls, I mean, when you can stay there up until 120 days, but that's not necessarily the case. Because once you come in, we start planning for discharge to get you to the next level. So when you come in, if a young lady have all her vital documents and she's ready to go to a TIL or to get housing, then she moves on to the level. So that opens up a space for another young person to come in.
The biggest problem they have is that Claudette has a big heart, and so if you come knocking on the door, she's going to go to the end of the earth to figure out how to work with these young people.
Yes, yes. We don't turn anyone away because there's a strength. Everyone has a strength, and you don't want to ever turn a youth away.
Especially when you said more of them come knocking at your door.
Knocking at the door.
I think again about people, young people who are, been sent here, been sent there, and they're tired of I don't want to talk to another social worker, et cetera, et cetera. But in your case, you say they really want
not going. And because it's word of mouth from other youth that may have been there before. They tell their other youth.
That's a very big thing.
One,
What do we want to tell people? About availability, how they get in. If a parent maybe has a child that says, you know what, I'm not sure what to do with the child. What do they do? How do they get to you?
They can call Maya's place. They can call Maya's place.
Pick up the phone?
Pick up the phone.
Want to throw out the number? There you go.
718-583-2380. Victory House is 718-678-1378. And if we have a bed, we tell you just come right on over. It's a 24-hour facility. Just come right on over.
It really is inspiring, and I think again I'll repeat the hotline is 718-583-2380.
Yes.
Claudette, Horry, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
I'm going to thank you on behalf of all the girls who've been through and are going to be through, because you are really changing the world.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me and putting out this exposure for my
space. Well, it's vital, really,
yes,
especially in the borough of the Bronx. To learn more about the services provided by Maya's Place and the Victory House, visit the website that's on your screen right now. And we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This morning. We've come to the end of our show today, and we want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you've missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 8 p.m. tonight on Optimum Channel 67, Verizon Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web, of course, at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with my buddy Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Gary Axelbank. Until next time, take care.